AOC's Abuela, as far as we know, is still languishing in her unfurnished Puerto Rican shack with water pouring from the ceiling and collecting in tin buckets strewn across the floor. Infamously, the Congresswoman would not allow me to step in and rescue the poor woman from her dire situation. And I can tell you that I am still personally haunted by that. I still wake up at some nights in a cold sweat shouting, "Abuela! I'm sorry I tried, Abuela." AOC, one can assume, has slept like a baby this entire time, on the other hand. Now, I bring this up again because I thought about Abuela last night when I saw the picture circulating online of her negligent granddaughter cavorting with her fellow rich people at the Met Gala in New York. Tickets for the opulent event cost somewhere around $30,000 a piece. And if you want to buy a table inside the hall to advertise your brand, something to keep in mind for next year if you're thinking about this for your business, it'll run you about $250,000. So it is a garish extravaganza, the ostensible purpose of which is to raise money for the Metropolitan Museum of Art. But in actuality, the point is to celebrate and revel in the ostentatious wealth of the Hollywood government and media elites in attendance. Now, it may seem rather hypocritical for AOC to show up at this carnival of affluence, but don't worry. The expensive designer dress she donned for the occasion, which appears to have been inspired by a Chick-fil-A takeout bag, had the words "tax the rich" scrawled across it. Those words change everything, we're supposed to believe. Normally, it would be hypocritical for a woman who constantly rants about rich people to attend a lavish ball with rich people so that she could rub elbows with those same rich people. But in this case, we're told, her attendance is a bold and brave and rebellious statement, all because of those words on her dress. Here she is explaining her fashion choice.
My God, tax the rich. What a model, AOC. What? I didn't know you model as well. Damn.
When Aurora and I were first kind of partnered, we really started having a conversation about what it means to be working class women of color at the Met. And we said, we can't just play along, but we need to break the fourth wall and challenge some of the institutions. And while the Met is known for its spectacle, we should have a conversation about it.
Yeah, have a conversation. Now, here's the general rule. Anytime somebody justifies a particular action that they've taken by claiming that they've done it because they want to start a conversation, it means 100% of the time that they're full of shit. That's what it means. Case in point, later that night on Twitter, AOC further defended her attendance, saying, quote, "Proud to work with Aurora James as a sustainable, focused black woman immigrant designer who went from starting her dream at a flea market in Brooklyn to winning the CFDA against all odds, and then worked together to kick the doors open at the Met. The time is now for childcare, healthcare, and climate action for all. Tax the rich." Quick fact check on some of this. Aurora James, the immigrant woman in AOC's phrase, is from Ontario. Now, she may technically be an immigrant, but a fashion designer moving a few hundred miles from Canada to New York isn't exactly the picture that AOC wants us to have in mind when she uses the phrase black immigrant woman. Also, when she says kick the doors open at the Met, what she means is that she took pictures on the red carpet and then drank cocktails with her rich friends. That's kicking the doors open. Not exactly Jesus overturning the tables and driving the money changers away with a whip. If she had done that, totally different story. And when she says childcare and healthcare, keep in mind that healthcare for children, as far as the Congresswoman is concerned, can often include crushing their skulls and throwing them into a medical waste dumpster. So other than those minor details, I'd say that her description was pretty accurate. Now, with that established, I think there are a few other more general points to be made here. First, the problem, let's talk about this tax the rich slogan for a second. The problem is that the slogan is, it seems to suggest that the rich right now are not taxed. That's why you say tax the rich, because according to you, they're not. If they were being taxed, then the slogan wouldn't make sense. It'd be redundant. But that's not true. The rich pay taxes. They pay lots of taxes. They pay the most taxes. They pay the vast majority of taxes. Tax the rich? Sure, I agree. Of course we should tax the rich. Now, I don't think there are very many people saying that we shouldn't tax the rich at all. So here's the good news. We do. A lot. That's a fact. If you hear that the rich don't pay taxes and you believe it, That must mean that you, first of all, don't read very much and aren't in the habit of researching claims made by partisans before deciding to believe them. It also means, presumably, that you don't make much money yourself, because if you'd ever had the experience of making a small amount of money and then managing to climb up the ladder a ways, I'm not talking about all the way up to Elon Musk level. I just mean you made a little bit of money and then you had some more success and you made some more money. If you've ever done that and achieved greater financial success relative to where you began, you'll have noticed that as you earn more money, the government takes more money from you. It's a pretty inescapable thing. It's pretty obvious. And at a certain point, you'll observe with alarm, they begin to take so much of your income that you question whether the climb was worth it to begin with. That's the case right now. This may come as a shock to anybody who previously believed that the government rewards higher income earners by politely declining to harvest their income, but that's not the case. It's not even close to the case. As it turns out, the government quite enjoys taking people's money. And the more money you have, the more it will want to stick its greasy hands into your pockets. And when Joe Biden is running the government, the hand may even linger there in your pocket for an uncomfortable and unnecessary length of time. So, considering that the rich pay most of the taxes, vast majority of the taxes are paid by the rich, where did this idea come from that they pay no taxes? Well, here's a good example of how the propaganda works. This is a CBS News headline from back in June. It says, quote, it's just the headline. It says, richest 25 Americans have a true tax rate of almost nothing. Wow. Almost nothing? Almost nothing. What? That doesn't sound fair. Jeff Bezos he pays almost nothing? I mean, what is that all about? Well, let's read on. It says the U.S. tax system is designed to be progressive, meaning that the wealthiest citizens pay a greater share of their income than the less fortunate. But a new ProPublica analysis of tax data on some of the nation's richest Americans comes to the conclusion that the richest 25 people in the U.S. have a true tax rate of almost nothing. The ProPublica report focuses on what it calls the true tax rate, which it defines as how much in taxes were paid by the wealthiest Americans annually versus the estimated growth in their wealth during that time. For instance, Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos paid $1.4 billion in personal federal taxes between 2006 and 2018 on $6.5 billion that he reported in income, while his wealth increased by $127 billion during that same period. By ProPublica's calculation, that reflects a true tax rate of 1.1%. But some tax experts noted that the analysis compares what they say are apples to oranges, income versus wealth. The IRS collects taxes on earned income and income received through stock sales, dividends, and other income provided by investments. It doesn't levy taxes on unrealized gains or the paper value of a person's assets. Okay. There it is. When they say that Jeff Bezos pays almost nothing, what they mean is that he paid $1.4 billion. Nothing? 1.4 billion is almost nothing? They justify this claim through a little sleight of hand trick where they equate net worth with income. Those two things are not the same. And it's a damn good thing that the federal government doesn't tax your net worth like it taxes your income, because that would be a disaster for anyone who has any kind of net worth at all. Can you imagine that if that's what you were doing at income tax time? You would assess not only your income for the year, but your entire net worth and pay on that? Of course, many of the people in the peanut gallery, not to be confused with the elites like AOC, who shout tax the rich, don't have any net worth, have never owned anything, and so these are distinctions and points that go over their head. Now, I say all this, but it's not because I care deeply about protecting Jeff Bezos from higher tax rates. Frankly, I don't care if his taxes go up a little bit. It doesn't bother me. My main problem with raising taxes on anyone is that the government already rakes in $3 or $4 trillion a year in tax revenue and squanders almost all of it. I think it's a $3.5 trillion. I think they're up to, or maybe more, that they bring in tax revenue every single year. And yet there are people saying they need more to do what with? What problem can the government solve, potentially, that they can't already solve with $3 trillion a year? There is no problem that can be solved by giving even more money to this giant, lumbering, corrupt, wasteful behemoth. Raise his taxes if you want, whatever, but just know that it will solve nothing and that the policy is being pushed based on lies and bad faith arguments. And it's being believed by idiots who don't understand the first thing about how the economy works and don't even understand the distinction between income and net worth. Second point. Why do you think that the rich love AOC? Why do they love the tax the rich slogan? You know, showing up to the Met Gala in a tax the rich dress, that's not like if I showed up to a Planned Parenthood fundraiser in a t-shirt that said imprison abortionists, which actually sounds like a great thing to do. Maybe I'll do that. But AOC, you know, she was embraced and applauded. If I did that, I'd be assaulted by security and thrown out into the street. The rich are fine with the tax the rich stuff because many of them really don't mind paying a bit more in taxes. That's not because they're generous. I mean, if they were generous, they'd forgo the $200,000 designer outfit and the expensive costume ball and donate that extra wealth to the poor. Have you wondered that? I mean, all these rich people say, oh yeah, tax us, we should be paying more. They say while wearing an outfit that costs more than your house. They could just give up one outfit in their wardrobe and they could put, you know, a family of 5 in a home, and they choose not to do that. No, they go along with the tax the rich stuff and they call for higher taxes themselves because, for one thing, it's an easy and relatively cheap way to virtue signal. And more importantly, it gets them closer to the levers of power. So what do all of the people at the Met Gala have in common? They're all in the ruling class. AOC, the other politicians in attendance, the Hollywood degenerates who are there, all of them are in the ruling class together. They have a shared interest. They have shared goals. And that is mainly to maintain and extend their own influence. Sure, they'll pay a little more in taxes. What do they care? They know those taxes are being spent by their comrades to advance their own ideological interests anyway, and their own financial interests. So for them, for the people at the Met Gala or the people who were at the VMAs the night before, big week for Hollywood degenerates, by the way. They could break out all their ugly costumes. But for those people, paying taxes, that's an investment for them. They get something in return for it. I mean, they get an entire system, an entire political system that works at their behest. That's what they get in return. That's why our objective shouldn't be simply to tax the rich, but rather to dethrone the ruling class. You'll notice AOC, she didn't put that on her dress because that's the last thing she wants to do. Third point, finally. The rich also aren't too worried about AOC's tax the rich sloganeering because they know it isn't serious anyway. She wasn't the only one who showed up last night with bumper sticker jargon emblazoned on her outfit. There were plenty of, celebrities wearing gaudy but basically non-political outfits, like Lil Nas X was there, and he could be seen here dressed like C-3PO's gay cousin. But there was also Cara Delevingne, whoever that is, wearing what looks to be a fake bulletproof vest with Peg the Patriarchy written on it. And then Carolyn B. Maloney, whoever that is, with equal rights for women printed on a robe that looks like something that a lesbian Episcopal bishop might wear. And then Megan Rapinoe with a handbag featuring the words, "In gay we trust." The other thing you see in all these pictures are the wide-eyed, starstruck reporters in the background wearing face masks and hungrily snapping pictures. Now, the celebrities, they're not wearing face masks. That's actually the greatest hypocrisy on display in this entire thing. None of them are wearing face masks. Why aren't they wearing face masks? Because that would ruin their outfits. Because it wouldn't look as nice. And it's true. You look ridiculous in a face mask. Everybody does. It's one of the many reasons why I don't wear them. But all the reporters. So the servants are all wearing masks, and the reporters, who are also servants for the ruling class, they're all in masks. AOC not wearing a mask. None of the rest of them are wearing masks. This is really the whole thing in a nutshell, isn't it? Because truly, Nothing says modern leftism like a gaggle of rich elitists at a $30,000 per ticket gala, walking around in hideous designer dresses with shallow political slogans emblazoned across them, while an adoring press looks on, drooling into their muzzles. It's all empty. They're all just cosplaying as political revolutionaries. None of them care about any of these issues. None of them believe in anything but their own power and their own influence. And last night was the perfect illustration of that fact. Well, I hope you enjoyed that clip from the Matt Walsh Show. If you did, go ahead and hit that subscribe button right down there so you can stay up to date on all of our future content.